Okay, we got the second live signal, and it is 6 minutes before the official start time. And you see at that angle, that minute hand is right on the spot. And so we are live, and we're going to talk Submariner. And this is in response. I'm checking the feed here to make sure. Sounds like the audio is okay. And so this is oh, I didn't set up camera one. Okay, I'm sorry. I got to take a short break to set up camera one. Hold down the fort in the chat, Carlos. Let them know it's going to be about 30 seconds for me to set up camera number one. Okay. It's the first time I did that. Forgot to hook up my camera. I use the same camera there, the A6500. I use it for commercial shoots, and I did a shoot yesterday for Southside Tire and Auto, and of course I had that camera with me, and I just forgot to hook it back up to the system here. So I've got, that's camera one. Camera two is the close-up. Camera three is the 9F Stunner. Camera four is the laptop. We're going to talk about that video by JustBlueFish. That's going to be the subject of our discussion. A couple of things that he mentioned. This is an emergency broadcast in response to that video. And because I always like to clarify some things for people that may have been misled by things that people inadvertently said that were incorrect or gave misleading information. We always like to clarify everything here for our subscribers so that they get the straight skinny. Not that anyone would knowingly mislead people, but what happens is people get into these groups and these forums and all that, and they perpetuate information and all, and it's an echo chamber, and it all just kind of bounces around, and everybody swears that it's all correct and accurate and true, and a lot of it is not. A lot of it's pretty marginal information. So we're going to talk about all that today briefly. This isn't going to be a long broadcast. Submariners are great. I have no date sub maxi case. It's been running plus 1 second for a week in total. Hey, that's pretty good. Plus 1 second. That's pretty good for a week. Yeah, I would pass on the they don't call it the maxi case. They call it the super case. I think the super case is a major fail, but hey, if that's the only thing that they're selling right now, so I guess some people feel they have to buy it. What's your sub only worked for one? What your sub only worked for 1 second? I understand people like maxi case, but it's not my case. Again, I think it's super case, Carlos, and I think the dial is the maxi dial. I think I was corrected on that some time back, and I think that might be true. From Riverside, California, what's going on in your part of the country? It's a little bit warm today. It's going to get cold, though. They got some cool air coming in. I had a nice long walk this afternoon. Enjoyed it. Nobody likes the maxi/bracelet combo. See, that's the thing. It's that indentation where the case goes down and juts way in to the relatively narrow-looking bracelet on that setup that just... But when you say nobody likes it, a lot of people, I think, because they bought it, it's like they're redheaded stepchild, oh, I love red hair. It's theirs, so they love it. That's how that works, I think. But yeah, objectively speaking, I don't think it was a step up from the previous case design or from the case design on, for example, the Yacht-Master. The Yacht-Master has a gorgeous oyster case on it. Classic styling of oyster case that is just absolutely stunning. And of course, that's what a Date 8 has, right? And a Date Just, and the list goes on as far as the really, really attractive looking Rolex watches. And there's rumors that they're going to soften the case on the new sub when they bring it out. But there's some other things we're going to talk about other than the case. There's some other issues, folks, that we're going to talk about on the channel here. And those of you that haven't seen it, I put the link in the description of the video. Excuse me. Here's the video in question, and I'll play just a little bit of it. So it's JustBlueFish. It's his channel where this is, and I highly recommend his channel. He does a great job, great production, and well respected in the watch community. But like a lot of the reviewers and people that have watch channels, a lot of them perpetuate the same information all around, and a lot of times it's poor information at best. But he did share some information that is very interesting that I think we should all ponder, and I'm going to get into it here. We're already 5 o'clock, so we are at the official start time. So I'm going to get into one big issue. For those of you that were really paying attention to his video, those of you that have watched it, and for those of you who haven't, I'll go into this issue because I think it's very interesting. Yes, the bracelet looks so off on the super case, Christian. I can see purchasing myself a sub to my son as college graduation given 2 years. I would prefer if they slim the lugs by that time. Yeah, hopefully they'll do that, Carlos. Or get him a Yacht-Master. That would be a better choice if they don't. I love the bracelet. I did try on the GS Diver last week. I will say I was impressed and shocked how comfortable and lightweight it was. So you tried on the 231? Yeah, see, Guy on the JustBlueFish channel, I believe he reviewed the 229, the stainless steel version. And he was talking about the comfort on wrist of the Submariner. If he tried the 231, he'd probably really be shocked how comfortable that is on wrist. Here's mine right here. Uber comfortable. Let's take another close look at that. Now it's all spotted. I did not clean it. It's like it is what it is. I just wear it all the time, and I didn't have time to clean it before the broadcast here. I just made the broadcast in time as it was. I didn't even have my camera set up properly, so that's how that works. But let's see. I have a few more comments, and I'm going to go into this big issue. Okay, there's a... I'm going to drink something. There's something in my throat. There's a big issue that we're going to talk about. Hey, Craig, I have an 8.5-inch wrist. I don't think I would have an issue with the Rolex Super Case. That big a wrist, you should buy this puppy. You need a bigger watch, guy. That 40-inch sub ain't going to do it for a wrist. You're a big guy. You need the 231 in titanium. That's what you need. You need a tougher watch. You need a big, tough, strong watch right there. Let's see here. Good evening from the UK. We have a serious problem in the UK with watch crime being fueled by short supply and excessive demand. The cost of previous models accelerating beyond acceptable. We're going to talk about that too. A few days ago, Mark Goldberg went after Craig and tried to get Clive to join in, but Clive just said Craig is a smart and opinionated ass, but Craig never claim to be anything else. There you go. But he should have added that my opinions are correct. He forgot that. I'm gonna have to correct Clivester on that I'm correct. Here's the thing, folks, on these other YouTubers. I was around years before they came around, I probably even predate Paul Pluta. Maybe you guys can check the channel, see when he started his channel, and compare it to when I started mine. We're probably about the same time frame. But go ahead and check that. Somebody fact check and put it in the chat, please. Check the date on his channel, how far it dates back. But I'm pretty sure I predate all the rest of these Johnny-come-latelys. And I'll probably be here after they're gone. You know, I'll still probably be around. So there's that. So yeah, people come here for experience. That's what they come here for. I know I've been wearing these luxury watches, Rolexes in particular, for longer than all of them. Notice I said all of them. Okay, there's nobody on YouTube that's been wearing Rolexes as long as I did for 40 freaking years. Okay, so so there's that. But anyway, enough about me. Even though this channel's just all about me. No, actually it's not. So let's get on this real quick. Guy's a great reviewer. He never sugarcoats his stuff. Yeah, I like his work. Okay, there are no new watches available in any dealers in the UK unless you are royalty. Grand Seiko will overhaul Rolex in 10 years. They won't. No, they won't. If you're thinking they're going to pass Rolex, no, because they can't produce in the volumes that Rolex does. Too much handwork in the Grand Seikos, so they can't. They could never do that. They can't make that amount of volume. Clasp on the Submariner takes up most of the risk, but people don't care. It's all about value retention. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I've talked about that clasp. It's so long, right? I like the way it can adjust and all, but they didn't need as much travel. If they just had like maybe 4 notches to the adjustment, maybe somebody can put in the chat how many adjustment notches they do have. But if they cut it way back, like this one has 4 micro adjustments, if they cut it way back to, let's say, 4 adjustments, then they could have made that clasp shorter. It's already nice and flush to the wrist. So, I mean, it's not perfection. I mean, every watch we can find problems with, right? But it's pretty damn good. I mean, the clasp on those watches, it's pretty damn good. I like this one because I can adjust it real easy on wrist. So I like this one. But, I mean, there's nothing... I mean, the Rolex clasp is pretty damn good. Goldberg e-bagging food for his cat whilst wearing ugly 20K watch. Hey, Craig, many YouTubers have diminutive stature and don't realize that in the real world, there are those of us like me that are 6'5" tall and over 400 pounds with 8.59 inch wrist. Wow. Damn, I need Gilbert, I need you to work security for me at one of the next events. I need a big guy like you to run interference. It makes me feel a lot more comfortable out in public to have a big hulking guy helping me with security, just in case somebody tries to step to me. You know what I'm saying? So, correction. Okay. Class was nice, though. It's kind of fluid. I think there are 6 adjustments. So see, if they cut that down to maybe 4, I think that would help a lot. ID guy is biased towards smaller watches because he is a smaller man. Larger watches are perfect for large wrists. I made a call to a Rolex AD in Glasgow 4 weeks ago looking for a sub no date, and I received a call today saying the watch arrived. Is this all hype? Smoking mirrors? Has the bubble finally burst? We're going to talk about that. That's one of the things we're going to talk about if I ever get out of the chat here. If you are worried about value retention being the biggest reason to own a watch, then you should park your money into much better investments. Well, freaking said. We're going to talk about that. Can the GS be repolished after long-term use? Yes, because this one does not have coating on it. This titanium does not have a coating. The SBG, what was it? SBDC 007, the Shogun that I had, that titanium that they use on a lot of the Seikos has a coating on it. Cannot be polished, but it's very durable, right? But if that coating ever did get scratched or whatever, there's nothing you can do about it. This can be polished because there's no coating on it. Probably don't need to, though. It's tough stuff, really tough stuff. Okay, so we already talked about that. I have a Submariner already, and I'm looking for Milgau's. Okay, my 44 millimeter Rolex Deep Sea actually looks a little small on my 8.5 inch wrist. But see, even if you have a big wrist, I don't like a thick watch sitting up high on the wrist. I mean, this one's 14 mils thick, but because of the shape of the case and the lugs and all, it sits pretty nice on the wrist. Let's cut back to a close shot. So I think that would look really good on you, the 231. I really do. There's a link in the comments, not the comments, in the description on this video to my page that tells all about this watch in case you're not familiar. All right, let's get into this. So a key thing that he said in this video was 2 years ago he bought this watch and he got a 10% discount. Pause for dramatic effect. A 10% discount on a sub date. Pause for additional effect. Now, those of you that have a very short that don't plan for the future, okay, that plan for today, 2 years might seem like an eternity, right? But it's not. And who's to say that 2 years from now you won't be able to get a 10% discount again and that they won't be available? Who's to say? If it changed in 2 years, if he bought that watch 2 years ago and got a 10% discount, who's to say that that's not going to happen again 2 years from now? If it changed in 2 years, why won't it change again? Okay? So that's the first thing I would like to point out. The second thing I would like to point out is several times he did mention that it's a good thing that the watch holds its value. And I think that's a very bad message to get out to people that are impressionable and so forth, especially people that might already hold that point of view and you're reinforcing it. Okay, he talked about an Omega, how if you buy an Omega that's less money, but as soon as you leave the AD, it's going to lose money, so you lose out, right? Maybe not. Maybe we need to learn a little bit about math. Maybe you don't lose out. For example, let's say you pay $9,000 for a Submariner date, okay, which is probably what you would have to pay right now to buy one, right? Around that figure, if you're lucky. 9,000. Let's say you buy the Omega for 5,000 and you leave the AD and immediately it's worth 3. Somebody might think, well, I lost $2,000. Not necessarily. You have $4,000 that you can invest. Okay? And you invest that money and it doubles every 7 years. By my math, in 7 years, it's 8,000. In 7 more years, it's $16,000 that you have. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, if you'd have bought the Rolex for $9,000, okay, you've got the watch 16 years later. Wait, not 16 years later. 14 years later. 7 and 7 is 14. 14 years later, you've got the Rolex, correct, you've got the Rolex, but you don't have the $16,000. So for those of you that are long-term thinkers, again, 16 years isn't even that long. Not 16, why I keep saying that? 14 years, I'm getting 16,000 and 14, well, you get the message. 14 years isn't that long a period of time, folks. So, you know, let's think these things through a little bit before we make ridiculous statements that don't hold any water. Now, the other thing is the S&P 500, I wish, our Wags is in the house. Excellent. Our Wags, maybe you can quickly check the numbers on what the S&P 500 did the last 2 years. The last 24 months, the return that somebody would have gotten if they just bought an index fund. And let's see if Guy had taken that money, that let's round off numbers. Let's say he paid $8,000 for the watch 2 years ago. Let's just round off numbers. If he paid $8,000 for the watch 2 years ago, let's check and see what $8,000 would be worth if he had it in the S&P 500 for the last 2 years, for 24 months. Let's see if RWAGS is still in the house, and let's see if he can give us that calculation in the chat. That would be very interesting information to see. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm trying to bring some facts into the discussion. Facts that you rarely hear these other people talk about when they make these ridiculous statements about the watch being a good store of value or being a good investment, or it's a good idea to put your money there as opposed to somewhere else, blah, 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 blah. When you hear them making these statements, they're often not thinking these things through. Okay? So, let's see here. A little late, glad to make the live stream. That was our wags. 10% discount. Sorry, that ain't even BS. Well, no, he said he got 10% off 2 years ago. Grand Seiko takes the worst pictures on their website. The watches look terrible on their website. In person, they are much better. Oh, no question. Most people with Rolexes don't know Rolex models from Adam. They probably won't notice your Steinhardt. Most Rolex owners are not watch enthusiasts. That's a very good point, and we're going to talk about that when we get to the supply issue that Guy also talked about. That's another big point that we're going to talk about, Chi-Town. So don't let me forget to talk about that point after I go through the comments here. Everybody a little late. Okay, I asked for 15% discount, Rolex AD. Maybe that's why I was told 3 months. It's coming. The prices are already easing off. Carlos, greetings from the cooler North America in the 50s. Every Omega is available at least 20 to 30% discount. Well, see, that's the other thing is, I mean, obviously you're going to try to get a discount, but what I'm saying, the point I was trying to make was, even if you bought it list, if you've got $4,000 left over to invest, in other words, you bought it for $4,000 less than the Rolex equivalent, right, which you can do, then you invest that $4,000, you're still going to come out way ahead, even when you factor in the depreciation of the Omega. You're coming out way ahead because you've got money to invest. You could take the money you spent on the sub, buy an Omega for half the money, invest the difference, and still come out on top of the Submariner. That's exactly the point. More like 11K plus. I'm not sure what he means by 11K plus for what. Is that how much you have to pay for a sub date now? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Sometimes sub is still in the case here in Panama. I'm sure I would get some discount if I would purchase. There you go. ADs in the UK are no longer taking names for any stainless steel piece, saying otherwise have rocks in their head. Okay. Steve, I put my name down. I put my name down in 3 ADs yesterday. It's a bit complicated, okay? If you buy a sub for 10 grand today and 10 years later it's worth 10 grand, then you lost money. That 10 grand won't buy as much due to inflation. Well, and plus, if you'd invested, you'd be way up, hopefully, assuming you invested wisely, right? Let's see here. Then buy a Seiko for 500, invest 85K. That's not sound logic when you're buying luxury items. Point is, buy what you like. It's not an investment, but don't start discussing opportunity costs. Well, see here, that's the point of this, Alexander, is my whole point of this discussion is you should buy a Rolex watch if you can afford it. If you're in a financial position to be able to afford to buy a Rolex watch without it wrecking your world, right? Obviously, if it would wreck your world, if you've got to sell it, if you get in a pinch one month where you your air conditioning system goes out in your house and all of a sudden you've got to sell your watch, then in my opinion, you should have never bought the watch in the first place. That tells me that you didn't have financial reserves in place and you didn't have investments and a nest egg built and you weren't financially secure enough to buy a Rolex in the first place. So that's the whole point of this, is you should be buying these are supposed to be tools. They're supposed to be a watch that you buy and wear and enjoy and do your work and do what you're doing and use the watch, right? To me, that's the point of all this. That's the point of all this discussion, is buy the watch you can afford, wear it, and enjoy it. I've talked many times about taking your time and selecting the watch you really want so that you don't have to flip it and try to buy another one because you didn't really like that one in the first place, right? First of all, these aren't very liquid. So that's the other problem with this whole value retention thing, is that's assuming that they're very liquid and that you can quickly and easily sell them. That's not the case. And often there are expenses involved in selling them and risk and so on and so forth. So it's much better, you're much better off choosing wisely and buying a watch that you really like and wearing it. Okay, so that's the point of this discussion. I'm not anti-luxury watches. I love luxury watches. I wear them every day. But don't buy a watch that you are looking at to potentially sell because you've got a cash flow problem. That's like saying I'm going to sell my shoes because I have a cash flow problem, or I'm going to sell my sport coat because I have a cash flow problem. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not the way to operate, I don't think. Okay, so let's go on here. The only piece you may get is Explorer 1 or 2. Okay, Explorer 1's a great piece, by the way. Steve, phone any AD in Scotland and rest assured you will get a model within a few months. A 2-year return of the S&P 500 is 18.15%. Okay, so the last 2 years. Okay, so what would be the compounded return on, let's say he spent $8,000 on the watch. How much money would he have now with that return compounded? Maybe you can calculate that, what he would have. Let's see. Next Friday, I will be in the USA, but in the hot one. In fact, the house of our friend in LA has been evacuated because of the Getty fire. We might be going to Las Vegas if we do not have house in LA. Well, you can always come here to Maryland, Carlos. I got a guest suite here for you. I got the VIP suite ready to go for you with high-speed internet. Let's see here. 727 and Steve R. Accept. Okay. All right. Interesting. Sold Tesla stock yesterday, killed it. Still buying watches, Craig. 100% shouldn't be buying high-end watches with your last dollars. If anyone is, they need counseling. Yeah. I actually sold a bunch of stock, and I sold too soon. My Apple stock, I sold it, and my gosh, it's been soaring since I sold it. But I'd already made a killing on it, and I think there's going to be an adjustment in the market. This bull market has been going so long. I just want to have some cash on the sidelines. I'm sorry, but I'm an old fuddy-duddy. I want to have some cash on the sidelines and be ready to buy if there's a big sell-off. I want to be ready to do some bottom feeding. So I'm looking for a big sell-off at some point. So we'll see. But it just keeps going up like freaking crazy. The same maths work for every make, not just Rolex. At least Rolex has value, attention. GS, great watch, but you lose money. See, Steve, you're just not thinking about this properly. If you're thinking that way, I mean, you're just not getting it. You're just not getting it. Okay, so some people just will never get it, will never understand, and they'll stay broke probably for their whole life because they'll just never get it. And Steve might be one of them. I hope you get it at some point, Steve. I hope you understand what we're trying to say here. Let's see. Everyone keeps talking about Rolex prices softening, but I haven't seen it. Only thing lowering price from 6 months ago are Batmans from what I've seen, and they're still way above MSRP. Well, again, don't always also look at all the asking prices. A lot of these watches aren't selling. They're not moving. Steve hasn't sold the Pepsi yet. It's a little treasury. It's for sale, and it's for sale under market. It's priced under most other Pepsis. And as far as I know, he's still got it sitting there. And he's an honest guy. We would know if it sold, right? So, it's these watches are not necessarily selling for the prices that some people might think they're selling for. And we will see what happens with the market over the next couple years. We'll see. We will see. All I know is I wouldn't be setting on a bunch of Rolex steel right now. I would sell like crazy right now at the top of the market. I would be getting out of any expensive Rolex steel. And yes, I'm talking about your ceramic Daytona. I would be liquidating. Listen to the canary in the coal mine. Get out while the getting is good. And yes, that is financial advice. Sell high and buy low. Let's see here. Guy did a great video about how watches aren't great investments. I suggest people watch that video. He has first-hand experience of getting out of a Rolex he didn't like. I know, but if you look at this latest video, he's certainly sending mixed signals. He's certainly talking about the fact that they hold their value, that Rolexes hold their value, making a big deal out of it, and so on. And again, that's, I think, the wrong message to be getting out to people. If people have to worry about the value retention of their watch, my opinion is they shouldn't be buying the watch in the first place. Period. Full stop. That's how that works. Historically, the S&P 500 returns on average 10% per year. Money doubles every 7.2 years. There you go. Batman and Pepsi are coming off their highs, but still 13.5K. And see what's going to happen here, and I've seen this many times in a lot of different markets. What's going to happen here is these speculators that are loaded up on these watches, at some point, they're going to start realizing that the end is near, and they're going to start dumping. And when a bunch of these watches start hitting the market, and they're not selling, and they start cutting prices and so on, there's going to be only so much room in the exit door for people to make their exit. And a lot of people aren't going to make it. A lot of people are going to get trampled and run over and ruined. And that's what we're going to see. And here's the thing, and this is another comment that that guy made in his video about how he's disappointed that the average Joe right now can't go into an AD and buy the watch. In other words, they should make more watches and have them available, and we should just be able to go in and buy them. Here's the problem with that thinking. And we talked about this on another show previously. Rolex is not going to change their production strategy and ramp up their production because a whole bunch of speculators are greedy and are snatching up these watches and sitting on them in hopes of reselling them and so forth. They're not going to adjust their strategy because of a short-term situation like this. And a couple of years' time is short-term to them. They don't plan for 6-month cycles, right? They plan for the long haul. And they probably see this as an anomaly, and they see this as something that is going to correct at some point, and it might end up badly for some people, but for Rolex is probably hoping that it slowly deflates and that it's not a crash, because that could hurt their brand also. But they're not going to react to this situation by all of a sudden putting on another shift at the factory and making a whole bunch more watches, because then they could be stuck with a bunch of watches that they can't sell, and they could hurt their brand as well. And so they're going to probably just keep a steady production through this period and let it work itself out, and let these speculators eventually end up selling their inventory. These guys that have 5, 6, 7, 8 watches, a dozen watches, whatever. Obviously, you can't wear a dozen watches, right? They're going to be selling them at some point. And they're probably just hoping that the situation is going to kind of correct itself as smoothly as possible. I'm sure they're not, they're probably not super happy with the situation. But then again, I mean, they're selling everything they can. The ADs are selling everything they get, probably at list price. I don't know if they're letting some of these watches go out the back door at a discount to these gray market dealers. I don't know. I'm not privy to that information. But the bottom line is, I don't think they're going to change their game plan because a bunch of speculators are buying these watches up and selling them at higher prices, and people are willing to buy them for those higher prices. And I also would suppose that it's probably not as many watches as the watch community thinks are being sold at these high prices. There's probably a limited number of suckers that are willing to pay over list for these watches. Probably the vast majority of people that buy Rolex watches are, in fact, probably walking into ADs and buying the watch and leaving, and they're just a normal buyer that we don't hear about, that none of us hears about. They're not watch people. They're just people that walk in and buy a watch and leave. And whether they buy a Submariner, whether they buy a Daytona, whatever they buy, we probably don't even hear about it. Okay, we're here in the watch community, you hear about the anomalies. Okay, so think about that. You should only buy a watch because you love it, not an investment. That's right. GS should only be bought second hand, but you need to tear the owner's arm off and bash them around the head with a soggy rut in. Hopefully you can walk away with the watch. Yeah. No, I mean, I bought my my GS's brand new. I got a great deal from Steve on this. I'm tickled pink with the deal I got, and I bought it brand new. My name's on the paperwork, and I like that. Same thing with that one. My name's on the paperwork, brand new, great deal. And I'm tickled pink. I prefer to buy from the AD, actually, and have my name on the paperwork. That's what I am doing. Years ago, I used to buy a lot of used Rolexes, but I've actually more often than not bought new from ADs, even Rolexes back in the day, and generally with discounts. Always with discounts. In 2000, a gold day date was $10K. Now the same watch 20 years later is $10K. Actually, I paid $16 for my day date, so maybe I paid too much. Oh, 10K pounds. I wonder, but I paid 16,000 US in the year 2000, so maybe I got charged too much. Thank you, Craig. Not this time. We are missing our son. I don't know what you mean. Rest assured, the Getty will not burn down. It was specially built to withstand fires. It will be destroyed by post-modernist art. Okay. There you go. You can get a Grand Seiko for an AD for 30 to 35% off, brand new, unused. Cash is king. It's always good to operate with cash. Absolutely. That is, you told Steve. I don't know what that means. Getty will not burn, but some of the houses that already were destroyed are at least a half mile of our friend. Okay. Any financial planner will always advise clients to have 6 to 12 months of living expenses saved up. 12 to 24 months even better. No cash flow problem if you follow these rules. And I like to keep even more than that, just because I'm an old fuddy-duddy, but I like to keep some cash reserves. And like for one thing, my Bank of America, my business account, they require that you keep 15,000 to not get any fees. And so here are my two Bank of America accounts. On my business account, I've got 36,800, and then in my personal, I've got the 22,000 in there. So of course, I could write a check. I could write a check for a gold Rolex if I was irresponsible. I could just go and write a check, right, for any gold Rolex I wanted, not with diamonds and all that, right? But I could buy a used platinum one. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep my cash reserves, and that's not even talking about the actual cash I have on hand. I always keep lots of cash, so there's that. Then there's PayPal, and there's all these other things too. But yeah, it's always good to have a bunch of cash laying around, I think, because then you can bottom feed. Like in my E-Trade accounts, I've got lots of cash sitting now waiting to do some bottom feeding. So please, somebody, trigger a sell-off. I want to do some bottom feeding in some stocks. I almost bought Twitter the other day when it took that big nosedive. I almost bought Twitter. May still do that. Okay. Let's see. I agree. Prices will eventually have to soften unless people start buying these pieces up at high prices. I'm just not seeing any softening actually taking place at the current time. Give it time. Be patient. I'm not broke. I'm happily retired with $2 million in property, no mortgages. Watches are not investment, but at least some have value retention, not investments. Steve giving us some information from his mom's basement. There you go. Steve, come on in with $2 million in his mom's basement. Okay, good job, Steve. I don't trust people that have a generic icon. They don't even put their picture on YouTube. So I'm not sure I trust Steve, but maybe he's telling the truth. Yeah, we'll give him the benefit out. Let's assume he's telling the truth. What the heck? He's loaded. So go ahead, buy your watch. But my gosh, in that case, you shouldn't give a damn. There's other things in life to worry about. If you got $2 million, 2 million pounds, and all your houses are paid off, everything's paid off, you're worried about the value retention of your watch? Give me a freaking break. Wow. Should be other things to worry about, sport. Who cares if they hold value? It's about a watch. It makes you feel. There you go. Now we're talking. Exactly. If you care about the price, you can't afford it. Absolutely. Hopefully the market adjusts after Trump gets reelected. In 2008, recession, Rolex prices were not affected one bit. But back then, nobody was paying double retail. They make it burn. See, here's the other thing about freeing up a lot of cash, like in some of my accounts, is the old saying, I would rather be a year early than a minute late, right? If the crash comes, it's too late then to sell, right? Like the last time I sold and went to cash, and I didn't go completely to cash. I still have some stocks, but last time I went to cash, it was a year before the crash happened. And everybody was, all the people that I know were like, oh, nah, you sold, and it's been going up, nah. And then it just crashed, right? And they weren't laughing then because they couldn't get out in time. They were burned. But of course, if they held on and, rode it all out, it's gone back up, right? But I was able to do some nice bottom fishing. I like doing some bottom fishing. Think you just answered the question is why you can't get a Rolex stainless steel from an AD. Coming on late, but YouTube now works as it should. Okay, so maybe you got the notification you're saying. I heard that guy is actually Ben Stein's son, and will be rebooting the for dry red eyes Clearasil commercials. Can anyone confirm? I don't need another sub. I have several, but not the maxi/dial case. I don't blame you. I would pass on the maxi dial and the super case. I would pass on those. Hey Craig, some watch enthusiasts believe and listen to YouTubers too intensely about buying Rolexes and other luxury time periods. If your responsibilities restrict watch buying, buy appropriate watches. Gilbert in the house with some sage advice. Wow. I get a bag of cash and go to Harrods tomorrow. I'll get a bag of cash and go to Harrods tomorrow. If they bought modern models at list price or vintage for good price and they're wealthy, then these investors will probably be fine. It's the flippers who stretch that will get burned. I don't know what you mean by being fine. I mean, obviously, if you want a good return on your money, you wouldn't buy any of those things. If you want a watch to wear, you'd buy the watch and wear it. Now, as far as the vintage pieces, I guess if you can get it serviced properly and it's okay. I mean, to me, I don't see the allure. I mean, just like I don't really see the allure of driving an old car on a daily basis. I like the modern conveniences. Like I like the modern conveniences of this spring drive. I mean, and Guy talked about the accuracy of his sub, and I'm like, I wouldn't put up with that. I'm totally spoiled at this point. I mean, 1 second in 5 months. Are you kidding me? I mean, he's talking like 15 seconds in a month or something. I mean, his is running really good. Don't get me wrong. For a roll, I think he said a half second a day. I think like 15 seconds a month. That's really good. But I mean, it doesn't hold a candle to this 231. So I'm really spoiled. And I like the titanium. I mean, I am just super freaking spoiled with this 231. I mean, I could not wear a freaking sub, even if they fix the case. I couldn't switch this for a sub for a whole lot of reasons. It's just the way it is. Let's see here. Compounded 2-year S&P 500 return is 8.24% October to the, okay, not including today. Okay. It's all hype. I hope all these gray markets get burned. A lot of people are going to get caught holding the bag, I think. All watches are hot at the moment, all being fueled by social media. Watchmakers are enjoying the boom time, not just Rolex. Good point. Well, and here's the thing. I think eventually some of these people that are not really watch people, that are Johnny-come-latelys, that got caught up in this and they're like spending their last dime on all kinds of watches. They're running up their credit cards and so on and so forth. At some point, they're going to have a rude awakening, and they're going to be selling watches, and they're going to be getting out of this hobby. And it's just not going to end well for a lot of people, I think. Now, for those of us that are real watch wearers and users and have been wearing luxury timepieces for years, and or those that are getting into it that intend to buy a high quality watch and wear it for years, and that can actually afford to do so, they're going to be fine. All those people are going to be fine. It's the people that bought 6 and 8 steel Rolexes because they think that's the new like gold watch, that it's like I see people in some of these forums, 18 karat yellow gold is for old people. No, I'm sorry. 18 karat yellow gold is timeless. It's for anybody. It was good 20, 30 years ago. It's good now. It'll be good 10 or 20 years from now. 18 karat yellow gold is timeless. A steel watch is just a freaking steel watch, folks. It is nothing special. It is not worth $20,000. Okay? Under any freaking circumstances. So somebody that's paying $20,000 for a steel watch, you're getting a steel watch, folks. That's what you're getting. Nothing special. And it doesn't matter how many bloggers say it is special, it ain't special. And I don't care what they call it. If they call it super steel or whatever the hell they call it, it's freaking steel, folks. It ain't 18 karat gold. So that's how that works. See, we call it the way it is on this channel, and we're right. We're 100% right. Now, what is it that Rush says? I'm 99.9% correct. Correct. That's right. Fist watches. The Grand Seiko will always be affected by the fact that any low-rent retail shop, including big box stores, have plenty of low-price Seikos for sale. The brand identity for most is cheap quartz watches. I don't know. Grand Seiko is getting a pretty good reputation lately. I mean, people seem to really like them, the people that have them, the people that have actually seen them. And it doesn't really matter because Grand Seikos are hard to get anyway, and they're not for everybody anyhow. They're a very limited production watch, so it's not really it's no threat to Rolex at all. Not enough watches out there for them to even worry about. GS has to fight against decades of public perception. No, they don't. They're selling about every watch they can make. They don't have to fight against anything. Like I say, it's a very limited production watch. It's a niche watch. It's only for people that really know what they are and appreciate them, are the ones that are buying them, because their marketing is terrible. They have no clue what they're doing as far as marketing goes. Go on their website and look at the photos of their watches. The photos aren't even any good. I don't even know if they're photos. I think they're drawings. I don't even know what the hell they are. But no, they have no clue when it comes to marketing. The reason they sell is because they're fantastic freaking watches. That's the only reason they sell. Let me show you this one. And I'm just pleased that I have two right now to wear in rotation, and so I don't have to worry about it. I've got mine, just like I've got my Bitcoin. And my Bitcoin is not for sale. And as of now, these two watches are not for sale. Of course, if I had a subscriber that wanted one of them and offered a decent price, I'd help out a subscriber. That's just the kind of guy I am. I help out subscribers. Govberg owns the watch box. Just had their once-a-year sale, 35% off of GS watches, all models. There you go, folks. Time to move in. Time to move in and buy. Okay, I went to the AD in Knightsbridge, London, and did ask for a discount. The lady asked, "Is that because you are Scottish?" No, I replied, "It's because I need some money." Okay. Roly-poly Milgauss. Okay. Cash is king in times of recession. Property I purchased in 2009 have now tripled in value. Watches are not investments. There you go. Craig, I have been in property since 1980. Watches are just fun to me. Okay, there you go. 1980. Hey, if he bought a Rolex in 1978 or before, actually before 1978, then he would be a longer time Rolex owner and wearer than me. The first watch I bought, first Rolex I bought new was in 1978. And it was a Datejust with an engine turn bezel and a Jubilee bracelet made in the United States of America. And that's what that was. And I loved that watch. It was a fun watch. Craig, would you choose a new Rolex Explorer 1 or a new sub, no date, for an everyday wearer? Not even a close call. I would go with the Explorer. The case design is much better. It's only 11.7 mils thick, I believe. It's just it's a perfect watch. Now, are you looking at the 36 mil? What size wrist do you have? So the size wrist you have would determine if I would go with the 36 mil Explorer or not. And the other one, isn't it 39? Is the other one 39 mils nowadays? I can't keep up. But anyway, your wrist size would determine which size Explorer, but definitely the Explorer. Not even a close call. Gorgeous case on that. Perfect all the time. Beat around. Do everything watch. Fantastic choice. I have to buy at the end of the month, so the enemy indoors, current girlfriend, future ex-wife, doesn't notice the hole in our daughter's inheritance. I might buy a GS SBGR 077, poor man's Milgauss. There you go. All right. Explorer 1 all day long. Looks great casual or under the cuff. The sub is a great sports piece. But you can use the Explorer for sports. It's plenty sport enough. Watching one of Guy's videos is almost as painful as 8 years under the Obama administration. Yep, it hurts. Oh, come on, Durr. Come on. Come on. I like Guy's videos. Ah, boy. That's by the time I had my first watch, a Timex manual wind. By that time, I had my first watch, a Timex manual wind. Carlos, that's 1978 you're talking about? Okay. My first watch was a gift from my father when he came back from Japan. And it actually was a Seiko Bellamatic. And it was probably about 1972-ish, 71, 72-ish, maybe even 1970. But it was a Seiko Bellamatic. And it was cool. It was cool, you know. I could wind it up. I could set the alarm. You wound up the alarm manually, right? The watch itself was auto wind. And I could be in like school, you know. I could have my alarm go off on my watch. People were like, oh my God, you got an alarm on your watch. That was cool then. The only thing I didn't like about that watch, and this is where my dislike for integrated cases came from, is eventually the bracelet gave trouble, and it was one of those integral bracelets, and it was like a real problem to try to get it fixed. You couldn't just take the bracelet off and put another bracelet on, right? And so that really, early on, cemented my hate, my dislike for integral bracelets. CraigShip, I like the GS sport watches, I really do, but they're just too big for my wrist in terms of aesthetics, Nick. They do make some smaller watches. This one right here is 39 mils, and that's only 12 mils thick. So they do have some watches that are smaller. Now, that's the 9F movement, but that's a fantastic movement as well. It's no joke. You might want to research it. I have a link in the discussion. I have a link in the description of this video to my GS page that talks about that watch as well. Let's see. Around then I had my first communion. There you go. Hey, Craig. People paying $20,000 for Steel Sports Rolex timepieces are the same people screaming, look, the emperor's new clothes, while in reality the emperor's nude. Oh, jeez. I got you. My father gave me my first Rolex in 1971, a Datejust 1601 on a Jubilee, and still running strong. Wow. So Steve actually predates me. Congratulations, Steve. Steve might be for real. Put a photo with your, switch that avatar out with a real photo, Steve. Come on. Tell you what, Steve, if you're a multimillionaire, and I don't usually accept super chats, go ahead and put a $200 super chat in, and I'll route the money to Brianna. She's buying some new equipment. She's got to buy an iPad to do her editing of her videos on and to use for school. So you super chat $200, and I will immediately send it over to the lovely Brianna, and she can use it for some of the gear that she's buying to get geared up to create some more videos. How's that? If you're a multimillionaire, then $200 is peanuts. Peanuts. So I picked up the Timex Pepsi that everyone has been trying to get their hands on. Holy smokes, what a piece of junk. It should be a $50 watch, not $179. Save your money, folks. Buy Bitcoin and GS. I hear you. Absolutely, positively. Yeah. Bitcoin took a little dump earlier, and then it pumped back up. there's a lot of manipulation going on these days in Bitcoin. Take a look at this dump it had earlier. See that candle where it dumped down and now it's back up? It is really, I think exciting times may be ahead, folks. I don't know what's going to happen, but I told you guys, I've been saying for the last couple years, exciting times are ahead with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has not disappointed. There have been exciting times. Wow, not the least of which was that big pump. When was it? In late 2017 when it pumped up to almost 20 grand? That was just crazy, crazy, crazy. And there are people that are saying that the next big pump could make that look like nothing. So we'll see. We will live through it, hopefully. We'll see what happens. Let's see here. I've felt in the Timex Q2. I have one waiting in San Diego. Probably I will give it to one of my sons if they like it. $200 here. Here you go. Hey, I think that would be enough to definitively prove that he's actually a multimillionaire like he says. I mean, you know, anybody that's willing to super chat $200 to help out a young lady that's starting her YouTube channel and that's really excited about creating a following and is going to be doing a bunch of videos about health and fitness and nutrition and taking care of yourself. And she doesn't drink, she doesn't smoke, she doesn't do drugs. She's just a really, really good role model. I think helping her out would be a really cool thing for somebody that's in Dave Ramsey's baby step number 7. If you all are familiar with Dave Ramsey's baby steps, that's when you can be outrageously generous, is when you're in baby step 7. You can be outrageously generous. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm not a multimillionaire. My money is in property, which my children will inherit, but I'm doing okay and have been a collector of watches for 40 years. I have no reason to BS anyone happily retired. I thought you said you had $2 million in net worth. I thought that's what you said, 2 million pounds. If it's in property, that's still 2 million pounds. I mean, I've got a lot of money in real estate too. It's still part of your net worth, for gosh sakes. I mean, it's hopefully if you've got that much money in real estate, hopefully it's generating income. At least some of it. I'm hoping you're not living in all of it. I hope you're generating some income with it. But anyway, I digress. Thoughts on Doexa watches? I don't have any thoughts on them. Maybe somebody else can share in the chat. Doexa, whatever those are. The 1601 was a $300 watch back then. I didn't really appreciate it until years later. There you go. Steve, have you got a Milgauss you want to sell? There you go. Maybe somebody's going to do a deal right here, live on the channel, going to do a deal. All right, I'm going to wrap this puppy up. It's been real, as it always is on this channel. It's always real. Hey, Craig, your thoughts on Grand Seiko versus Crador timepieces. Do you own a Crador? No. You know, it's funny about Crador because I looked into them, and there seems to be a lot of really crappy ones on eBay. And I don't know if they're real or not real or whatever, but if you search Crador watches, there's a bunch of them at fairly affordable prices. And a lot of them are kind of ugly. But then there's some watches that are super high-end that are stunning. So I don't understand that brand. I don't understand the gulf there. Why there's some like run-of-the-mill, not great watches that you can buy for like $800 on eBay, and then there's these stunning, amazing pieces that are like, you know, $100,000 or whatever, and they're insane, right? I don't understand that brand. I really don't. But for me, if I'm going to get a dress watch, and that's the only reason I would buy a Crador would be a dress watch. For me, we talked about this the other day. This is the ultimate dress watch, this model here, and it's a Grand Seiko. But let me play a little bit more of this video again from Tim at the watch box. And this is just a stunner here.
Polished mid case, and all of this is Zaratsu finished, and that is the Grand Seiko and Seiko hand finishing technique.
Oh,
technique
they're
whereby a
okay.
Zolot's machine with a spinning tin
They're gonna
plate
put an ad
is
in there.
used in conjunction with an artisan's hand pressure to run the surface being milled against the spinning tin plate and create a mirrored finish that is optically
That's just
smooth,
stunning.
distortion-free, and very much like what the Swiss would call poly noir or black polish. A push-down
Look at
crown,
that. That is
30 meters
gorgeous.
water-resistant, and a simple conical bezel, giving way to...
I mean that is just stunning. I challenge anyone to find something more attractive than that for a dress watch. Just a 3-hand watch. It's a spring drive, so it's got that smooth second hand of a spring drive and the extreme accuracy. It's beautiful dimensions. It's 10 mils thick, and it's about 39 mils or so case size, maybe 38.5 mils, whatever. Perfect case size. Just a freaking gorgeous case. Look at those lugs. I mean, in the side view of the case. Oh shoot, decline that. The side view of the case is out of this world. I mean, that thing is just freaking stunning. So no, I wouldn't buy a Cradle. I would buy that. I'd buy that if I wanted a stunning freaking dress watch. I mean, I'm talking stunning. That would be the piece right there. They nailed it with that piece. Talk about a Calatrava killer. Well, we talked about it on the other show, but that thing is freaking awesome. Oh, let's see here. So that's my thought on Crador. $2 million in property, but I do not feel wealthy in the UK, London. It doesn't go very far. Okay. Okay. Craig, who is that behind you? Uh-oh, there's somebody behind me? Oh, no. Are you talking about the book? The book? What, the book right there? That's a book, a case-bound book about Audrey Scherer. And so if that's who you're talking about, that is the lovely Audrey Scherer. And you can find all kinds of videos on the channel here of Audrey. Just search Audrey, keyword Audrey, on my channel, and you'll find out about her. A lot of people already know about her. She's not on social media these days. She's taken a lot of time off, a couple of years off. The trolls ran her off. They were very nasty to her, and she's a very sensitive young lady, and so she took a powder, and that's their loss. That is their loss. All right, I am going to wrap this puppy up. I have a new unworn Explorer 1, just 2 weeks old. Are you trying to sell it? Is that why you posted it? If you're trying to sell it? Okay, how much? Here we go. We got a deal going. We got a deal going live in the chat, folks. That's how this works. A deal going down. Gary is in the house as well. All right, I'm going to let you guys do this deal, and I'm going to go get something to eat at 6 o'clock. We've been going for an hour, counting the pre-game show, a little bit over an hour. There's the official time check. And we're going to wrap this puppy up. So thanks, everybody, for watching. Click subscribe. Click that bell. Click that bell. And we will see you guys next time. Oh, Steve might be doing a show tomorrow. He promised me he would do a show tomorrow. And please show him some love. And hopefully he'll do a show tomorrow. Thanks again, everybody.